I think you were somewhat prophetic the last time you were on, talking about having people source up to Perforce 10,000 companies is less impressive than having 10,000 people onto Perforce at the same time from the same company. And that was almost a year ago.
Yep.
It was almost like crazy that you kind of foresee this type of near future issue for Perforce that you've been warning everybody about, and it is so much happening. I mean, the game industry themselves, who are the hugest proponent for using Perforce for over 2 decades now, are still having a lot of issues just thinking at a different angle with everybody being remote. I can't imagine other industries at this point who are 10 steps behind, learning where they, I mean, how's that handling all that type of questions coming in at this time?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, it's kind of been, scale across the globe, and thinking about remote teams and all that has kind of always been in our wheelhouse. So we design for it. Part of the vision that I've had with the product is that that's only going to increase, and it's going to get more difficult as 4K, 8K, all that comes to fruition. It's not getting easier to work in these environments, right, with the size of the data. So we're always trying to stay ahead of that curve and build that culture in our company to support those kinds of environments. And we have stuff in our roadmap that's going to just take this all to a new level from a scalability perspective for people working remotely, working locally. It really doesn't matter to us. I want it to be ubiquitous. Wherever somebody's seat is on the globe, they should experience the same performance and the same ability to do work, regardless of where they're located. So that's really driving the strategy on a lot of our products. So we're well suited for it, fortunately.
So aside from that, though, like as this was happening around the globe and finally hitting North America, I think about a month delay, you guys are already set up for this type of situation. Were you, even with the preparedness, were you ready for the whole world to kind of plug in and kind of use the number one file management system out there? I mean, I can't think of any other type of product out there that is allowing teams to kind of coordinate, cooperate, and work with each other at this scale. Literally every company in the world right now is needing this type of file management system to talk to each other, essentially, aside from video chatting all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been from an infrastructure perspective on our part, we were ready because we saw sort of it's kind of the mold that people were working in anyway. So where you can use like the Perforce products anywhere, but where we really shine, right, where we really stand out is when there's some dimension of scale, right? Whether it's lots of files, huge files, lots of products, lots of product variants, or lots of people working on it, or certainly teams distributed across the globe. So it's just been part of our messaging, right? And part of our enablement is to allow this sort of global spread of data and collaboration regardless. So a team in the UK can just as easily contribute to the same set of code or assets that a team in California or Boston is, right? And there's literally no difference. There's no restrictions that are slowing them down. And so it just really fit in line with how we work anyways. And, we've been seeing the trends as well, where people are moving their infrastructure using our platform, where traditionally, certainly all across the board 10 years ago and earlier, it was all local, right? So massive files, large servers, all the people are working locally. And if per chance somebody was to do something remote, it would have to be through some sort of VPN kind of situation, or remote access, et cetera. Whereas we've seen some of our biggest customers are now looking to move, and have already started moving a lot of their infrastructure of Perforce into the cloud. They've already started that, and they're looking at and being very attentive to the different regions where they set up servers. And with our products, they're setting up the different replication technologies we have, again, so that somebody on this side of the globe, we don't want to have a positive experience and somebody on the other side of the globe to have a negative experience. So with our products and our replication capabilities, which we've been working with customers for years with, they replicate that data all across the globe. So it really doesn't matter where you are. We're going to give that same sort of local like experience, whether it's local hardware or it's in the cloud. It doesn't matter. We're sort of ubiquitous with us. So that's kind of, this situation is just sort of right in our wheelhouse for what we're doing anyways. So we've been fortunate, and it's shown too. Certainly with the gaming market, with people at home, and some people aren't working, unfortunately, or even people that are working but can't go out to dinner or go bowling or go to the movies. Gaming, the demand is up, right? I'd love to get your take on that. We're certainly seeing it. I know I'm personally, me and my wife play golf on the PS4 every night, right after we put the kids to bed. Wasn't doing that before. And it's kind of an interesting, trend. So our customers they're under the wire. They've got to deliver software and, games, because they're seeing a lot of pressure to produce content for people. What have you seen there?
No, I definitely agree. I think at first, when people were anticipating how many were going to be at home and turning usually to entertainment to kind of ease the time suffering, basically, a lot of people were kind of guessing that they won't be spending as much money, but more like going towards freeware or mobile games, on a cheaper side. Mm-hmm. But data are in saying that people are spending more money towards game industry stuff, which is great for us, for everybody, essentially, because there's only so many times I can lap in my backyard, very limited space, before I have to go back in the house and do something. And so, and not knowing how long this will be, people are saying summer, or even this is 2020, basically.
Right.
A lot of people are adjusting to the new normal and everything. Something that you touched on a bit that has been somewhat controversial, and I just want to know your opinion on it, since it kind of correlates, to your company, but also to the industry overall, has been data cap, right? That is a very new concept in the last year and a half, and more than ever, thankfully, recently, a lot of the internet companies have relaxed their measures on data cap, letting people actually spend more time. How do you see that conversation returning after this kind of subset? Because that's a pretty insane thing to think that we should limit any of that. Charging people more.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my from a personal consumer perspective, I mean, I'm completely against that, right? And the data throttling and all that. And I think it would be to your point, it would be a horrible look in today's climate, for them to be enforcing that and trying to garner more dollars out of the consumers. I think it's interesting to see how that will play out moving forward, once we're kind of out of the fray here, even if it's late this year or next year, whatever, when things are back to whatever normal we're going to have. It's going to be interesting. I think, I heard something like, people were kind of talking at the beginning of all this, like, you can learn a lot about your company or the people that you do business with, the people, the restaurants, the stores, your own employment. You're going to learn a lot about companies and people based on how they treat people during the situation, right? So I think the companies that are being, empathetic towards, the situation where people are home, a lot of people aren't working, and then how they deal with it now, and how they, how quickly do they kind of go back to business as normal and try to squeeze, right? I mean, everybody's in business to make money, but it's going to be, I think there's going to be a chance for some companies to sort of separate themselves based on their approach, right? You're seeing it with the airline industries, right? Like, so I fly Delta a lot, and they kind of came out and basically just said, your status, whatever you had, is good till 2021, right? Like, don't worry about it. Marriott did the same thing. So it's like some of these companies they're thinking about what the daily person's thinking about, and what life's going to be like when they go back to normal. And it's just one example, right? So, I know my cell phone carrier, they're increasing the amount of free hotspot usage you can use right now. I think those are good things to do. I mean, a little bit of good grace and goodwill, I think, goes a long way. Like, to your point, though, I don't have a forecast on what they're going to do once they can kind of start to leverage things again. It's going to be interesting, but I think it's an opportunity to sort of separate out a company's mindset and their persona, once things kind of loosen up a little bit.